Hello and welcome to Defence Line, a weekly program on defence, security and more. Usually in most war games and in media discussions, it is the Indo-Pak military standoff which takes center stage. However, in this episode of Defence Line, we discuss the possible threat from our bigger neighbour, China. Is the danger of the lingering border dispute with China spilling over into a full-fledged confrontation real? Should that happen, are India's defence services prepared to undo the 1962 debacle? This is what we discuss in Defence Line today. To discuss this, we have in our studios Brigadier Kiran Krishan, a retired officer of the Corps of Engineers and a security analyst. Lieutenant General S.B.S. Kochhar, a soldier scholar who was commandant of the Indian training team in Bhutan, which also shares a disputed border with China, and Air Vice Marshal H.P.S. Sidhu, former Assistant Chief of Integrated Staff in the Ministry of Defence. But before the discussion, let us look at this report.
China may not be flexing its muscles yet, but its strong military build-up and shoring up of infrastructure along the LAC is worrying. No wonder then that the Indian Army has proposed to increase its strength by around 1 lakh. It also plans to raise a mountain strike corps and 4 mountain divisions. The Army is also planning to deploy 2 independent armoured brigades in Uttarakhand and Ladakh. The Army's present strength is more than 11 lakh troops, including over 35,000 officers. The increase in the number of troops is likely to be done over a period of more than 5 to 6 years. The proposal is likely to cost over Rs 60,000 crore. Once cleared, the proposal would be put up before the Cabinet Committee on Security for approval and financial sanction. Of late, India has been taking a large number of steps to develop its own capabilities, keeping China in mind. But some defence analysts feel that right now the Chinese threat is not that real. The best approach, they think, is to handle ties with China in a sensible manner. Too much of jingoism, as shown by Indian media and its politicians, will only make the situation more volatile. India can't afford another 1962.
We are in discussion with Brigadier Krishan, General Kochhar and AVM Sidhu. General Kochhar, I'll start with you. You've been in Bhutan, you worked on the threat perception. Are these media reports real, or you think it's all kind of a war hysteria, a media creation?
It is well known that they have superiority over us in terms of numbers.
That's right.
It's an established fact. Now it is, the threat assessment has to be provided by the political authority, highest political authority and leadership in the country, in very clear, unambiguous and precise terms.
But has that been happening?
Yeah. I am afraid that tragically it has been lacking as far as we are concerned. Both from 62 onwards, take the Nehru era, thereafter save for 71 when everybody got together. But most of the findings of the Henderson books are not out, and what Nehru had thought in 62 are now proving to be quite to the contrary. Himalayas is no longer a bastion behind which we can hide. Nepal is no longer a face of India. And what is most important, we've been talking about the nexus between China and Pakistan in the media for last 1 year or so, vehemently.
So when you consider the threat from China, you need to take these reports very seriously.
Absolutely.
Brigadier Krishan, you will recall that in 62, what really precipitated matters was the so-called forward policy that we had pursued at that point of time. Is there a danger of that happening again, or you think the build-up of China is real and we need to take it very seriously?
Okay, I would go back a little. When you look at recent developments, particularly the media had been hyping the infrastructure development.
Yes.
Number one, infrastructure development per se, when you view it through different prisms, it looks differently. What we have seen in the press is some towers coming up, some accommodation coming up, roads coming up, airfields coming up. Is that development oriented? Is that defense oriented? Is that offense oriented?
What is the sense that you get?
I get a sense that it is more development oriented. China today is the rising power. Are they interested in fighting with us?
But Brigadier Krishnan, why should they be building tunnels in the Tibet autonomous region? Obviously, this is for defense purposes.
Okay, tunnels could be for railways, tunnels could be for roads, and tunnels could be for stores, houses also. And the recent development, no one has talked about tunnels. They are only talking about airfields. They are talking about some huts coming up. They are talking about some towers coming up. So one has to see this. The moment you apply a different prism, things look differently.
Right, AVM Sidhu, you think the Chinese build-up, the so-called build-up, is a cause for worry?
Well, sir, I have opinion on first a cause for worry from the air power angle.
Okay.
Air power angle, certainly not. They didn't use air power in 62 because they couldn't use it. The Tibetan plateau is an average height of 15,000 feet. When you operate out of airfields at that height, you got to be specialized and trained. None of their fighter assets, offensive assets, are located in Tibet at all. They are in Lanzhou region and Chengdu military region. And they have operated once in 2 or 3 years for a few days, and we say they are operating there. Our own airfields, 2 of them which are at about 10,000 feet altitude, we say that we have great problems because they are altitude. Theirs are 150% higher. And therefore, we must understand the air power threat from there. It really is minimal. It will always remain
you
minimal.
have long-range aircraft, you have mid-air fueling, so I'm sure they can take off from a distance and yet strike.
Mid-air refueling, sir, you can carry out specialized missions to mid-air refuel aircraft for an armed offensive when you're launching 32 aircraft at the same time is not a feasible proposition. For specific missions, you can certainly do it. For perhaps even air defense to some extent. But it is not a proposition.
Well, that's very heartening to hear this. But AVM Sidhu, tell us, you served in the integrated defense staff in the MOD. Is the China factor really kind of factored in when we do our strategic and tactical planning? Or is it all Pak-centric?
Well, to my mind, up till now, it was not. It was always front with Pakistan holding pattern with China, a 1.5 war. Some of the magazines are talking of 2.5 wars now. Both fronts open, and the third insurgency, they're talking of Maoist insurgency. I think it's reasonably impractical at this time and frame. And I just wish to tell you that Chinese should be scared of our air power threat. We have 14 airfields, out of which 10 are at ground level, right from 62. Hasimara is not even 20 kilometers from the border. It's been a fighter operational airfield. Chabua is same. And when they are trying to build Niamgachi, which is close to our natural edge, and we are greatly alarmed. That's the only airfield. Others are in Yarkhand, the Silk Route, Khasgar, Hotan, 1,000 kilometers from any asset that we have. And these are airfields on maps. People just don't realize what kind of fighter operations their aircraft can undertake from here.
There is one more.
It's impractical. Yes. I mean, dare I say, there is a certain threat on the ground. They've got economic strength. They had a long-term vision to build up the military power. They intend to be a global power. And if they are developing infrastructure in a region which they find restive, Xinjiang and Tibet, I think they're sensible people.
But Brigadier Krishnan feels that even that infrastructure built up would be for a different purpose. You were saying something?
Yeah, quite right. I want to reinforce what Air Marshal Sidhu has just said. 1962, the world was a different place. Today, the world is different. China was the pariah at that time, and India was a non-aligned country, not in cahoots with America, not even too good with Russia and all. And Nehruism was, a different foreign policy.
Well, things have changed drastically. That's what
things have changed. Our forces have come up, and I don't think we should carry that defensive mentality of 1962 too far.
Well, we'll just come to that. General Kocher, I'm sure you don't agree with both the other panelists here. But tell us, if you think, the border is vulnerable, which are the areas which are more vulnerable? In 62, in the west, we had the Aksai Chin area which opened up. In the east, we had the Tuang area in Arunachal Pradesh which opened up. Is it any different today?
Well, let me put the things in the perspective that I gauge it. One, hitherto we were fighting on two fronts, west and east. There was some leeway, 71 operation was based on it, that when the passes close, we will go into Bangladesh. That theory is no longer relevant. The passes are open 12 months a year, point infrastructure wise, which
Right.
he is talking. Second point, Pakistan will ensure, that is why this so-called cooperation treaty, defense cooperation treaty between China and Pakistan has taken place, that no troops can be moved from west to east. If that's not bad enough, you have Nepal in between. The influence of China in Nepal is increasing. Now, at the macro level, what we have done is, the terrorists have come together. You take ISI, you take PLA, you take Kachin province in Burma, you take the Burmese.
Are we not presuming a lot of things that all this is kind of geared up against India?
The point is that they have come together, whereas we are tackling this problem compartmentalized. We should be having you can't say that it is a Maoist problem today in the Red Corridor is a law and order problem. I am afraid no. It is something more than a law and order problem. And therefore, and the Eastern Corridor, I mean, we have all served in the East. The Siliguri Corridor is a place to worry about. And therefore, you will find that is why all of a sudden now 1 lakh troops are going to be inducted.
So when you talking about vulnerable areas, you think this Siliguri corridor is a point?
Siliguri corridor and Arunachal. Now every time they are putting their fingers on Arunachal. I mean, you are even asking the Prime Minister of this country not to go to Tawan.
So it's not the Excision and the Dapchak area is not so much of a worry, but the eastern sector is. That
in any case, they feel that is going to be looked after by Pakistan. So let it carry on over there. But the eastern, the stakes are high.
I get your point. Just before we go into a break, Krishnan, a quick reaction from you. Have we done enough by way of building infrastructure and roads in the eastern sector in Arunachal Pradesh?
We certainly,
the area which Kocher pointed.
there I would agree with General Kocher. We certainly need to do more. In the area where we are sitting in Chandigarh, around Punjab and Haryana, they spend much more in 1 kilometer of road construction what they are doing in 100 kilometers over there. I think the country needs to wake up on that.
We need to have our priorities right. I'll just come back.
So I just like to put the state.
Quickly, yes.
Pakistan, what are we doing? What is Dalai Lama doing? Why is the unrest in Tibet? Isn't it a cause of concern for them? What are the Uyghurs doing? I'm afraid, we're just looking at one side of the story.
Not as much a cause of concern for them as the Maoists are for us.
I might say Maoists are totally ideological problem. That is not ideological, that's a freedom struggle. I'm afraid these two issues, and what are we doing? A government in Dharamshala which is getting increasingly globally active. We aren't looking at it. Isn't it a cause of problem for China? Let's put this all in perspective. We just get carried away, and I'm afraid.
Yes. If we have not learned from the Russians and Pakistanis the internal and external threats separately, Russia is a mighty military power. They have come to grief. So look how Taliban started. It was all.
Yes, AVM Sidhu, I think not much of a difference between an ideological issue and what is termed as a freedom struggle. Actually, I think somewhere they both meet. No,
I mean, what kind of ideological issues?
I would take on this question.
I would Maoism in a Red Corridor and the Tibetan struggle.